Kia ora, colleagues. Welcome back. Trust everyone had a good lunch. We'll recommence the meeting now with a return to the agenda and starting with item 12. Item 12 is the Waste Management Minimization Plan 2019 Progress on Actions Report, and welcome Natasha Hickmott, Activities Manager, Resource Recovery and Sustainability, and Melissa Doyle, the Waste Minimization Officer, to present the report. Thanks, Natasha. Thanks, Melissa. Welcome, and settle in, and we're in your hands. The right-hand button should activate. There you go.
Good afternoon, elected members, Chair and Deputy Chair. As Brent said, my name is Natasha Hickmott. I am the Acting Manager for Resource Recovery. I am here to present the Waste Management and Minimisation Plan 2019 Progress Report, or Progress on Actions. I'm going to take the report as read, although I would just like to point out a couple of errors in the report, if you bear with me. If you go to page 96 of your agenda, to section 3.5, the last words say 25-26, that should say 24-25. And if you go to the appendix on page, bear with me, on page 103 of your report, under item CO3, where it says in the year 25-26 in the middle of the sentence, that should also read 24-25. Happy to take any questions.
Great. Thanks, Natasha, and thanks. Any questions? Councillor Hancock.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks very much for the report. Just a query just around in terms of targeting the increase of waste diversion, 36 to 48%. We do have a reporting deficit there just around private contractors. So do we have any understanding of how we're actually going to close that loop?
So we're actually going to be bringing to you shortly a review of the Waste Management and Minimisation Bylaw and the Administration Manual, and including in that we're going to make some minor changes to the licensing provisions. We've been in discussions with various platforms or various software offerings to introduce a platform where we can actually license and collect the data. So we're just trying to tidy up what we can do through the bylaw so that then we can start enacting those provisions. We have a budget proposed in, sorry, no, it's not proposed, it wasn't proposed in the LTP for year 3 to introduce licensing. We will try to bring that forward if we can, but we've just got to, there's a few things we have to move through first. I will also go on to say that we were waiting for the government because they indicated that they were going to put some new legislation out. So they were going to replace the Waste Management and Minimisation, the Waste Minimisation Act with a new act, and that there was going to be some provision in that, and in part of that they were going to license the private providers, but that hasn't happened yet. So we're now going to go through that process to get that data if we can.
Okay, thanks. And so, but that gap, 36 to 48%, do we understand where we're sitting on that, or we just can't tell at the moment?
We can't tell. We did reach out prior to writing this report to the private waste contractors to see if they would provide the information to us. Some of them did, some of them didn't, so we could make an assessment, but we chose not to.
Okay, thank you, Natasha. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Zabellin.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Tēnā kōrua. Very exciting to read about the success of the polystyrene recycling. Just wondering, do we have a ongoing or a longer term comms plan to remind people that we offer this service now, aside from the comms that we did when we were launching it?
We're constantly reviewing our comms that we do for this activity. We also have key times or key intervention points where we remind people of things like Christmas, Easter. There's obviously Labour Weekend coming up. We tend to talk about our green waste facility in the sort of the April-May period when we're heading in, March-April period when we're heading into Easter. We also tend to remind people about now when we're heading into October Labour Weekend. So I think we will probably look to reminding about the polystyrene, as we do with the e-waste e-waste reception around Christmas time, when there's a lot more of those types of purchases made that have that kind of packaging alongside the e-waste as well.
Awesome. That's great news. Thank you very much. And just in the appendix, there's a mention of the Zero Waste Action Group, and that's been on hold, but we're looking to bring this back. Is that something that we've picked up in the new WIMP, or how are we progressing with that work?
It's not specifically identified as an action in the WIMP. We've taken it on board in the team that I work within as part of what we do. And in fact, our other waste minimisation officer, she will be the lead for that. So, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. That's all from me. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you. A couple questions for me. Just interested around the behavior change type, education type things that are happening. There was a little bit in the report around that. Just, I guess, could you give us a little summary of what's going on there, how it's going, and also are we doing anything to track whether that's actually translating into behavior change beyond just the enjoyment of the educational experience?
So we recently did 2 more of those open days, and we did them during the week and over the school holiday period, and we had quite a successful engagement. In that, we were only going to do one, and we had an overwhelming response. We've actually also had a feedback form associated with that, so we're moving into noting down what we do, what kind of engagement we do, and asking for feedback and what they've learned and how we could do better next time as well in terms of those things. Melissa and Ari, who are the 2 waste minimisation officers, do a lot of engagement. We take tours whenever we're requested. We go to schools quite a lot. We take trucks just to the primary schools. We find that there's a lot of engagement that way. So we're always out on the lookout for how we can work with the community and engage with the community.
Thanks. So I guess based on the information that you're collecting so far, acknowledging that you're continuing to evolve that, would you say there is evidence that the educational activities are translating into behavior change?
I would say it's really hard to do a correlation between that and what we're seeing at the MRF, or the amount of recycling that we're seeing, or the amount of contamination. We're certainly not seeing a reduction in the contamination at the materials recovery facility. I think those things are really hard to try to have a quantitative information. I think they're really hard to marry up, but we could reach out to other councils to see if there are things that they're doing to measure those things.
Yeah, thanks. I guess to be clear on that question, it's more about the participants in those opportunities, whether they're making some different choices rather than about whether we're kind of affecting total tonnages. So because it sounded like you're getting feedback forms and some information back. So at that individual personal level, are we seeing any evidence around a link between educational opportunities and behavior change?
Can I just ask? We get feedback from them. They have eye-opening moments. They talk about that. During the tours, we quite often get feedback from the people who are quite surprised by the width and the breadth of what we do at Awapuni. And we get a lot of comments, oh, I didn't know you could do that, or I didn't know we couldn't recycle that. So during those tours, we get a lot of verbal feedback back to Ari and Melissa about what changes they intend to make. So.
Great, thanks. So then thinking about that in the future, if we're continuing to offer these educational opportunities and tours, are there ways that we could more strongly gather information that would allow us to understand the link between the educational activity and any behavior change at a household level?
We could look at the feedback that we asked for and include a question about what did you learn that you didn't know, or we could ask, is there one thing that you're going to change now going forward from what you've learned today? We could put some open-ended questions into the feedback form in that way to get some feedback.
Great, thank you. The other question that I had was just around the appendix. Number of cases there where the kind of report side of it is BAU, and I just wanted to know, is that listed as BAU because we don't have further information to share, or because we have the further information but we didn't actually kind of put it into the appendix?
I think most of it's because we've probably previously provided it to you, or it's something that we do, like one of the actions is provide the curbside service. Well, we provide that. So there's probably not a lot we can say about that further to you. I'm happy to have a conversation with the chair and deputy chair offline as we move into the reporting on the recently adopted waste management minimisation plan, on what future reporting might look like and what you would like to see coming out of that report.
Great, thanks for that. Not seeing any other questions in the queue, so thank you, Natasha. Thank you, Melissa. Appreciate it. Colleagues, we have a recommendation in front of us that the committee receive the memorandum titled Waste Management and Minimization Plan 2019, Progress and Actions presented to the Sustainability Committee 16 October 2024. Happy to move that, seconded by Councillor Zabellin, and open that up for any comments that we have on the year that's been. Just briefly for me to at least open things up and see where it goes from there. Thank you to the officers for the report. Really great to see the uptick in the education and community activities. And obviously, as came through a little bit in the line of questioning, it's really interested in being able to track that input that we're putting into the community into response and behavior change and better decisions happening out there. But fundamentally, good outcomes in resource recovery absolutely relies on community awareness and community buy-in. So fully endorse that education effort that's being put in there. Really great that we're intercepting 50 kgs a person of resource and getting that diverted out of landfill. And good to know that we're well on the way to lifting that through the food and organic services that are in the pipeline. I will say that continue to have some concern around the information and amount of information that's brought into this report, and that we don't necessarily have the amount of visibility on the service performance, especially on the residential side, and to be honest, even less in the commercial, industrial, institutional. Like there's just quite a bit of brevity there, and fundamentally we're delivering over $10 million of services to the community through this activity every year, and it'd be great to see some more information back about how that service is performing, where things are going well, and where they could go better. But overall, do appreciate the tremendous effort that I know goes in every single day to get the trucks out on the beat and to get those services delivered, because they're very high priority for the community. And look forward to the new journey in the new waste management and minimization plan that we're starting into, and wishing a bright future for that indeed. So thanks again for the efforts being put into you and the team. And with that, we'll call for a vote. That's passed 9 votes for and none against. As indicated, we'll now move to a vote to exclude the public so that we can get into item 18. So have a recommendation in front of us that the public be excluded from the following parts of proceedings of this meeting listed out in the table below. We've dealt with 17, but we're around item 18, which is the Manawatu River Pathway Project, progress on landowner engagement for reasons around privacy and negotiations. I'm happy to move that. Seconded by Councillor Zabellin. Check for any comments. There being none, we'll ask for a vote. Sorry, what? Oh, no. Thanks. That's passed 8 votes for, none against. So just while we're turning the systems around for part 2, just to clarify, Councillor, thanks for asking about that. So the intent is to deal with item 18, which is the part 2 part of the shared path, and then go back to pick up item 13.